Alright, so for any of you who haven't already heard, which I'm pretty sure everyone should have at least seen a video on it or at least read it themselves, this week at Bungie, August 5th, 2021, excuse me. I'm just not going to really read over everything. I'm just going to go over the parts that I find interesting as well as get my thoughts out on it. So let's get into it. To the best of your ability, our teams have been hard at work putting together a lot of changes for next season. We decided to break out upcoming sandbox changes into 3 parts. This week we are converting abilities, next week we'll be talking about armor and mods, and then we'll touch weapons during the final week before the end of the season. Here is combat gameplay designer Eric Smith to give you a rundown on how your Guardian's abilities will be evolving next season. Eric Smith: hey Guardians, we've been hard at work on an abilities balance patch for season 15, but before we get into the balance changes, here's some info about some quality of life changes debuting in season 15. Separate melee actions. Pretty sure you've already gotten a rundown of that, but cliff notes are basically you're gonna be able to set your melees to whatever you want in terms of single press action. Be able to separate, your uncharged melee and your charged melee ability. Like he gives an example over here, especially for your controller players, which I am a controller player myself, so this affects me. Game controllers have a limited number of inputs, so you may need to get creative with how you map your controls. Personally, I like to put charged melee on RB, which is right bumper for me because I use an Xbox controller, and uncharged melee on the right stick or right click R3. This would work for me considering that since I have an Elite Series 2 controller, but you can't necessarily set your paddles separately from your A-B button. So being able to use my charge melee with my right bumper and then use right click with my uncharged melee would be really great for me, because this way, I can differentiate between the two. Also, for you shotgun rushers out there who like this shotgun and clean up with a melee attack, this will actually help you make sure you don't jam your stick too hard. And this also doubles up as a finisher and uncharged melee actions on the right click or right stick, which will prioritize finishing enemies over meleeing them, which thank God, because you wouldn't want to find yourself in a situation where you're just meleeing an unstoppable ogre that's finishable as he looks to you before he rams you with his fists. So yeah, that's basically the quality of life changing for that. For melees, long-term ability plans. Looks like last season sandbox lead Kevin Yanes laid out our vision for how we'll see subclass abilities fitting to the Destiny 2 sandbox going forward. Our philosophy for ability design is that ability should complement the core combat of Destiny 2, but not dominate it. It should enhance game's gameplay but not replace it. The changes we're introducing in season 15 will help set the stage for those larger systematic abilities changes in the upcoming seasons. We'll be focusing on adjusting how often abilities can be used in the Crucible specifically. So they're finally, separating the sandbox between PvE and PvP, which is what we've been asking for, especially for Holy ICU, PvP and PvEers, those separate sandbox balances. We've been getting annoyed at the PvP community. Me being a PvE main myself, you know, been getting mad at the PvP players, basically, especially with the Cryoclasm, which we'll get to that later on, messing up with, you know, our fun. Now, granted, you know, PvP is going to have their own sandbox changes, which is great. No, Holy, we will not be doing that. What up, Madison? Let's see. In the coming seasons, I already read this. Please stay tuned for more info about that. Season 15 ability balance pass. For season 15, we prepared a slew of balance changes to raise up underperforming subclasses and tone down overperforming subclasses. Without further ado, here are ability changes we'll be making for season 15. General abilities, stasis freeze. The goal for these changes is to make being frozen by stasis less frustrating. Previously, players who were frozen in the air had to wait until they hit the ground to start the breakout process. Additionally, we've shortened the window of vulnerability between breaking out the stasis encasement and losing the damage resistance it provides. And getting back to the weapon ready so you can fight back. Nice. Called what? Also, hi sleep. Frozen players. Wait, frozen players can now initiate breakout while airborne. Yes. Shorten breakout animation and camera transitions. Nice. This means once you decide to break out, you'll be able to fight back sooner. Differentiated long freeze and shortened freeze visual treatment to make each status easier to identify. So if you're frozen by a super ability, or if you're frozen by, you know, a regular, you know, I think the only ability right now that can freeze you instantly is the ice wall grenade and the one that chases you down. So you'll be able to tell the difference between whether or not you're frozen by a super. That's great. Slide. Read this one out because this one's going to be kind of an issue between PvE and PvP players, and I can tell you why I believe they made this change. I don't know if anyone else in the community would agree, but there's something coming next season that I think this will help with. But also, you know, it's balancing certain people's playstyle, shotgunners. And well, let's just read it. The goal of this slide change is to slightly reduce the effectiveness of sliding into engagements to gain the upper hand. Even after a shotgun changes we've made last season, sliding into every engagement with a shotgun or any weapon is still incredibly effective. The run and gun playstyles are very low risk. This is a change that looks scarier on paper than it feels to practice on, in our opinion, and we'll continue to monitor how it plays out. A lot of people are freaking out about this, but as with a lot of changes they made to the game recently in terms of PvP, it's not been that bad. So I would say wait until they ship it out, but let's see what the changes they're making. While sliding, players now incur the following weapon penalties: -20 stability, +15 shotgun pellet spread, and 1.5 times flinch. Now, for you hand cannon users, this is probably going to be an annoyance, but I feel like if you have, say if you farmed for the palindrome, which I don't know why you wouldn't have farmed for a palindrome, it is very easy, especially on the adept version, to get, you know, pretty high stability hand cannon. From the one I personally use for PvP has 80 stability, which I find, you know, if you watch Kamicake's recent video on the palindrome, 80 on most hand cannons will make it so you have less recoil management. This is going to affect console players a lot more than PC players, but once again, they're saying it looks better than what it's going to turn out to be. For you shotgun sliders, now here's the reason why I say this is a good change. I haven't really heard anyone say this, but in my personal opinion, this will be really good for console players. Now hear me out before you decide to crucify me. This will be good for console players because sliding is way more effective for controller play for PC players than console players. Sure, we get a lot out of sliding, but if you've watched any of the really good PC players, they can slide diagonally. They can slide in whichever way direction and change and turn 180 degrees on you really quick. The shotgun players on PC are way faster than the people who play on console. Now granted, you can say, hey, so I don't plan on playing against PC players. All my friends are on console. Maybe you might run into your favorite streamer who's, been on PC for a while and you finally get a chance to play with him. If you play with him in Crucible, you're going to be loaded into a PC lobby. It's not going to be fun going against, all the PC players with their freaking ability to slide diagonal in which way directions that you haven't seen before on console. So, I feel like this is one of the better changes that they've made in, preparation for mixed lobbies on, coming for crossplay. This will give you a better chance to fight against PC players. It's not going to make it, completely outstanding. It's not going to make that much of a difference in terms of, their stability and their recoil management. But this will at least give you a better chance against shotgunners who are on PC because they do a lot of sliding, and the amount of freaking turn radius that they can have within a short time frame is would probably be very annoying once you finally faced it. So this will give you a fighting chance against those players. Not much of a fighting chance, but still a better fighting chance than what you had before as a console player who's probably a little bit more static in your gameplay. And if you're a top PvP player on console, you're probably not as static. But this will give the everyman's Destiny player a chance to fight against these people who are just have these godly slides on PC for whatever reason. And also, this isn't going to affect shotguns that have slide shot as much. Sure, the flinch may be an issue, but here's the thing. If you have this will basically make you have to think a little bit more when it comes down to playing Crucible and your builds. Think about it. You have unflinching mods that you put on your chest piece. Most people don't use them, but Bungie did confirm a couple months back via the Destiny DCP podcast Firing Range that if you stack 2 unflinching mods, it does actually help. So I could see if you still want to slide, you can still do it. You just got to build into that. So say if you want to slide shotgun still in the game, Found Verdict is an aggressive flame shotgun, which means it has a good amount of range. You can get slide shot on it, which increases your stability. I don't know if it matches the stability debuff that you're getting for sliding, but it helps. On top of that, you can get what's the mod? So if I were to load into Destiny right quick. So say if you want to have a shotgun with slide shot, or say you have even an ignition code with slide shot, you can put on what's its face right here. Freehand grip increases your accuracy and ready speed while firing from the hip. Put that together with slide shot, which sliding partially reloads your weapons and temporarily boosts the range and stability of your weapon. I feel like this will come close enough to counteract that. You know, it may not fully counteract that, but say if you put on 2 unflinching mods for shotgun, and then you put on, and you get a slide shot shotgun, and you put on freehand grip, sure, you won't be able to like immediately aim from shooting, but as you're sliding it and shooting from the hip, and say, matter of fact, I got the perfect found verdict for this. Like, give me a second. I think moving target only helps if you're aim down sight sleep. Pretty sure I have an auto rifle with it. I think I put it away. Give me a second. Yeah, moving target only helps with when you're aim down sights, but give me a second to get my found verdict. Right, so it's not in my vault, so that means it's on another character. Oh no, wait, I'm done. It was on my Titan. So perfect example, this found verdict. I have accurized rounds, slide shot, which, you know, magazine reloads, temporary boost my range of stability, and I have opening shot, which gives me accuracy and range from the first shot. If I had full choke right here, that would help with the pellet spread issue, and then I put on freehand grip. It'll be, and especially if I put on 2 unflinching shotgun mods, I feel like it'll, if it's not guaranteed to counteract it, it'll at least give me a better chance at landing that shot. So instead of, you know, just mindlessly slide shotgunning, now you have to think about it, or you have to spec into it. Most people are not going to be happy about it, but there it is. All right, changes for Titan. For the Rally Barricade, all right, so for Rally Barricade, this variant doesn't see much use, so we've made changes to make it more viable option. Remains the same reload speed benefits while adding other weapon buffs. Gives you standing behind the Rally Barricade provides the following buffs. You get plus 30 stability, nice, plus 10 to range, minus 50 flinch. Am I going to use this? Still probably not, because that towering barricade is just really good for the. Here's the thing, you may see some use of it in PvP for people who, you know, maybe like to, you know, just laying around corners, get that little extra reload speed. I don't see too many people using this. And in PvE, I mean, maybe if you have a boss that doesn't move too much, I guess it's not going to provide too much cover. That's the issue with Rally Barricade. It's not, you know, the buff that it gives, it's the fact that you don't have enough. It's not giving you enough cover. And if you want to fire above it, you know, if you don't already know, if you shoot behind a cover, your character automatically stands up. Sure, you can stop shooting behind a Rally Barricade in order to get back into cover, but I don't. Maybe someone will prove me wrong. We'll see. For all barricades, currently, certain fast moving abilities allow you to speed through the barricade. Okay, so I read this before, or watching other videos. So basically, players moving at high velocity now take more damage when moving through hostile Titan barricades. Barricades now slightly protrude through the ground to protect Titan's feet from the ground, so basically no one can shoot you from under your barricade. And then this will reduce instances where explosions and projectiles are able to sneak through the bottom of your barricade. But that doesn't stop someone from shooting you over your barricade. If you've been in Crucible lately, there's been some a rise in grenade launchers use, which, I mean, I've been using grenade launcher. You saw the fact that I had an ignition code on my Titan. A lot of those kills came from this morning playing Iron Banner. Barricade is not going to save you from a grenade launcher, so that's all I'm saying. For Behemoth, as you may remember, midway through last season, they basically nerfed them. Let's see what buffs they're bringing to it. This was an issue I had for PvE when it comes down to the Behemoth. Cryoclasm was really good for clearing out ads, and the fact that you had to sprint now in order to use it unfortunately became an issue when it came down to, you know, freezing targets and then sliding into them. It didn't necessarily affect the super because you can use the Cryochlasm slide as infinitely as much as you wanted, but you know, the Titan Shatter combo, you know, just like how the Titans had, how Hunters had their Shadow Dive, Titan Shatter combo was, you know, freeze them with an ice wall and then you slide through them for max damage. That basically no longer became a thing. But now looks like they're going to be bringing back at least a part of it. While equipped, base slide now shatters crystals and frozen enemies. Increased duration of the sound effect, notifying players alongside is ready from 1 second to 4.5 seconds. So while you're running, you get about 4-second notification of the fact that your Cryochlasm slide is, you know, ready to use. Shiver Strike increased movement speed by 25%. It was very annoying, I'm not gonna lie, as a behemoth titan trying to chase down people as you try to use your melee and you just basically went to the ground. So that's great. Whisper of Rhyme fixed a bug where overshield provided by Whisper of Rhyme was not scaling precision damage correctly, which I believe is a nerf to Whisper of Rhyme users. A couple weeks back in trials, I ran into a Whisper of Rhyme team. Hunter, Warlock, and Titan were basically just using their grenades to not only farm overshield so they can get into every engagement. It was very annoying. Basically, Whisper of Rhyme now, I believe you probably won't be able to tank a sniper headshot, which is great. I approve. Middle Tree Sunbreaker, the TLDR on that is increased time before hammer explodes from 6.5 seconds to 10 seconds. Nice, because once again, it was very anxiety inducing when you threw your hammer, especially if you missed and you only had 6.5 seconds to get to it, and you threw it a very long way because you missed and you're trying to get to it in time, and as you see it ticking down before it goes boom, it was just, you know, really disappointing. So that is a plus. You get a thumbs up from me, Bungie. Increased damage versus powerful PvE combatants to 50%. That is another plus. It gives me another reason to spec into melee builds. I probably won't use it in GMs, but I can try. This makes a lot of people don't know about it, but the Titan exotic, and I'm even blanking on its name, the one that gives you explosions for getting melee kills. I know what it is. I'm looking it up right now. It's probably in my vault. I got a decent roll, I know it. It is the Severance Enclosure. Yes, the Severance Enclosure. It gives me more reason to use that and probably try a build for that in PvE. So we'll see. The Severance Enclosure was pretty decent. I wish it had stacked with energy accelerant, but I don't think anyone actually tried that. Maybe I should have tried that before the NEC. Well, it's kind of too late now, but yeah, Severance Enclosure may see a little bit more play in endgame next season, but we'll see. Especially if you get Roaring Flames ×3. I believe in that. Top and bottom tree striker. Did I miss anything? No. TLDR on that is Fist of Havoc. Increased slam detonation radius by 14%. Sweet. I've had issues, especially now recently, that it's seen more play in PvP with landing that explosive Fist of Havoc slam on supers, especially people who get way above you. You know, this way it gives you a little bit more you know, breathing room between you and other supers that like to get really close, especially the melee supers. It tends to lose out to other melee supers every once in a while, depending on, especially if you don't know what you're doing. You know, someone can just jump over your slam and then you miss, and we'll see. Reduced slam damage fall off, which is great, which means, you know, the little bubble that you create when you slam on the ground, The farther away the people is from the middle of the area of effect, the less damage that they take. So that's reduce. Great. Reduce slam attack activation costs from 21% to 18%. Nice. Someone do the math. I'm pretty sure someone else in the community already has, but I think that may give you like 1 or 2 extra slams. That's probably going to be real nice. Middle tree striker. This change will be balanced by something we haven't mentioned yet. We'll save more in we'll say more about this in a future TWAB. Don't know about that. So it looks like they're probably going to add a nerf to this, but we'll see how much of an issue it becomes. Inertia Override, which I've been asking for an increase on the duration of that. It didn't have to be too much longer, but I felt like by the time you pick up ammo from Inertia Override, you didn't have enough time to do the max amount of damage that you could with any weapon that you picked up ammo for. Especially for people like me who've discovered the greatness of Synthoceps in Gambit. I know it's disgusting, I just said the G word, but hear me out. Synthoceps in Gambit is really nice, especially if you like to use, you know, a 1-2 punch shotgun. Don't believe me? Try it out. You get surrounded a lot in Gambit. It makes sense. Just try it out. Increased duration from 4 to 6 seconds. Nice. You know, so you get a little bit more time to, you know, pick up some special ammo. Boom. Hit them with some 1-2 punch. Synthoceps is great. I don't think it matches Curious of the Falling Star in terms of super damage, but you know, a 1-2 punch shoddy with Synthoceps, it's nice. Especially with Inertia Override buffing your damage on top of that. Sliding over ammo brick now gives you 20% more melee energy. Whatever they choose to balance this out with, we will see, but it will be actually kind of disgusting in PvP. You know, Synthoceps with the you know, with the middle tree striker melee, getting constant melee energy, especially not having to use the Monte Carlo for that, gonna be kind of broken in PvP. Especially with Synthoceps, you slam into 2 people, 2-3 people, you're gonna kill all 3 if they're within the radius of that slam. So hopefully the balance that they have doesn't, you know, become too strong, but that 20% melee is going to help a lot in PvE. I still don't see myself using this specific for GMs, but we'll see. Here, also versus Celestial, it's a boss mountain contest. Waiting till you get to Hunter. Okay, I'll get there eventually. I'm mostly reading the cliff notes. I just wanted to, you know, give my thoughts on whatever I see. Top Tree Sentinel, TLDR of that is basically, from what I read and heard earlier, they're nerfing it. TLDR on that is increased damage taken from bosses from 0.25 to 7 times at 0 resilience. So from now on, Titans, it is no longer a no-brainer choice in order to basically run Ward of Dawn. If you want to put your super at the boss's feet, it won't affect people that are inside the bubble, but damage scale down to 0.25 times when on depending on your resilience stack. So basically, if you're running 10 resilience on a Titan, it'll basically be as if you know they never nerfed it. But if you're not running 10 resilience, just know there are some consequences. You're not going to be able to put your bubble at a boss's feet and expect your bubble to just sit there and tank all the damage. You know, Riven, if anyone still does that raid. I don't think it's gonna affect Taniks because you don't necessarily use the bubble for that encounter. I don't really. Now that I think about it, bubble isn't really useful for anything outside of raids. And the way my group and most groups do Atheon or Atheon doesn't necessarily require bubble to be stood inside. Let's see. He's definitely the Templar. Maybe in Master is probably gonna melt your bubble, but once again, we don't necessarily use bubble for the defense. We use it for the damage. So we'll see what kind of encounters they come up with. I don't really see my. I don't really use. I haven't used Ward of Dawn in a while, so. Well, not for the defense aspect at least, but I always run high resilience. If you're a Titan, there's no reason to be running anything less than 7. So if you're running like 5 resilience and lower as a Titan, what are you doing? Are you even a Titan main? I don't see any reason why you would run anything less than 7, and that's if you're trying to spec into other abilities, you know. So we'll see how that affects Ward of Dawn future use for boss encounters. And now we've reached Hunters. For Revenant, last season we reduced the radius of Silence Freeze. That change has played out well, requiring the Revenant to be more precise with their silence throws. Even now, silence feels like a carrier part of the super, and we want Squall to be more dangerous. Currently, the Squall Storm is slow enough that you can kind of ignore it or fight till it gets close and then relocate. With its speed change, we want players to prioritize relocating when they see approaching Squall. Additionally, Squall will now stop when it touches a boss, which should make it easier for single target boss damage. However, there's a known issue where Squall will not start moving again if the boss moves or dies. We hope to further improve this behavior in future releases. Overall, this is good. I can see it, you know, helping out with the Templar fight. It would be an issue once they add this for Atheon, because Atheon, if you faced him yet, does not like to stand in one place for more than 0.2 seconds. So if the Squall stops moving, sure, he still stays within a general area, but he could potentially move out of the Squall, so that would be an issue. So I hope they fix that quickly. Let's see. Doesn't really matter for Taniks. Doesn't really matter for Riven, though I don't know why you would use that for Riven. No one. Does anyone use anything other than the sword strat unless you actually know how to do the encounter? Yeah, I don't see it affecting too many boss raid encounters outside of Atheon, because Atheon is really the only boss in this game that doesn't like to stay in one area that you actually have to aim at. But yeah. Withering Blade, increased projectile speed, tracking by 10%. Withering Blade has become a Withering meme at this point, considering, like, I don't think anyone really uses it. So, we'll see how that turns out. Middle Tree Gunslinger. We'd like to give hunters a larger window to defeat burning enemies and trigger the playing with fire perk. As such, we're giving the knife trick timer a 25% buff. Knife trick, increase burning duration from 3 seconds to 4 seconds. I don't see too many people using this. I know I tend to have a build with the Ophidius Space to give me that extra melee, but still, I don't really use that. You know, it's really good damage though. If you ever tried the Ophidius Space with Middle Tree Gunslinger, it does a lot of damage, especially if you're using the Gambler dodge to get your melee back. It's pretty dumb damage. So we'll see how well that tunes out. Maybe it will put more hunters onto using Ophidius Faith in PvE. Top tree Gunslinger. This super has been through a lot, obviously. Golden tier since Destiny 1. We had intentionally reduced the effective range of 6-shooter several seasons ago to balance it against the bottom tree Golden Gun. This change was then unintentionally reverted at some point due to an unrelated integration mishap, and then later reverted. That a word? In any case, we're extending the lethal range of the super a little to reduce how often it requires 2 shots to kill enemies in Crucible. 6-shooter damage fall off now starts at 25 meters instead of 20 meters. So yeah, I guess for PvP Gunslinger mains, that's great. I've never not been killed by 1 shot, so okay. Nice for hunters, I guess. Let's see, Arc Strider. Let's just read the TLDR. Arc Staff. Extended passive super duration from 16 seconds to 20 seconds. Nice. What was it? The Hunter Exotic. Let me pull that up right quick. Increase heavy slam detonation radius from 5 meters to 6 meters. Increase damage versus PvE combatants by 33%. That's pretty hefty. Top tree Arc Strider Deadly Reach. Increase duration from 8 seconds to 10 seconds. Middle tree Arc Strider Lightning Weave. Dealing damage with Tempest Strike now triggers Lightning Weave. Timer can now be extended by dealing damage with any weapon. That's pretty gross. But you know, the Hunter Exotic that I was talking about is called the Radiance Flux, right here. Chained Arc Staff hits. Well, Synapse Junctions. Quick successive attacks with Arc Staff increase its damage output and duration. This will probably hop back into the meta for Destiny 2. This hasn't seen a lot of play. They've I don't think they've actually nerfed Arc Strider. They just kind of stopped caring about it. But yeah, this will definitely receive a little bit more play. And if you see, I got the ornament for it. Gives you a nice little baton in the back. Be nice if you use this actually in the middle of a super. But I can see a lot of people hopping into play for the Radiance Flux. Let's see, what else would it affect? I think the Raiju's Harness would be a little bit. Now, Raiju's Harness is more of a PvP super. Maintenance. Deactivate Whirlwind early. Guarding does not consume extra super energy. But I can see this, you know, maybe helping in PvE. Say if you just want to give your teammates Charge Light right quick and save your super. I know Cammy Cakes uses it that way for PvP. But if you're going to use Arc Staff inside of PvE, I can see these 2 exotics being worth your time. Middle Tree Night Stalker, the TLDR on that is Spectral Blades reduce damage reduction during super from 52% to 47%. Now they'll be easier to kill. If you saw the Unfortunate Hunter from, you know, my adventures in Iron Banner this morning and yesterday morning, thanks to Sleep's clip, well, let's just say it's going to be a little bit easier to get real disrespectful to Spectral Blades especially with grenade launchers. I'm not gonna get into it. You just had to be there. Reduce additional DR damage resistance. I'm guessing DR damage resistance when invisible from 5% to 3%. Okay, I can respect it. For the Warlock, Shadebinder, TLDR on that is Winter's Wrath. Reduce shatter pulse damage to close range supers. Warlock must now freeze and shatter twice to defeat players in Burning Maul, and increase to players in Burning Maul, Fist of Havoc, Sentinel, Nova Warp, Arc Staff, Spectral Blades. Glacial Quake will only require one shatter. I think it's because of the increase in mobility, so that's respectable in terms of change. I would really like for them to nerf the tracking a little bit. If you've played against a Shadebinder in PvP, it's not fun. It's really not hard for them to get that second Winter's Wrath out. So we'll see. I'm telling you, the tracking on it is ridiculous. I've gone around a corner and the freaking orb tracked me 90 degrees around the corner. And if you've seen like clips of it, if you can jump over a Winter's Wrath orb, and if you're in an open enough area, it'll literally do an entire 180 in the air to come back down and freeze you. Hoping this helps. Don't think it will that much. Top Tree Dawnblade, TLDR and that is that they're nerfing it. I don't think this will be enough based off of what I've heard, but let's read. Reduce tracking cone angle, that helps. Aiming shape, proximity detonation now shrinks over time, that helps. Reduce detonation size by 1 meter, that also helps. Reduce damage fall off increase at short distance, that also helps, but I don't think that'll stop people from spamming it whenever they have it. Icarus Dash now provides 1 air dodge every 4 seconds. Kind of like the Shatter Dive. So, neat. While under the effect of heat rises, increase to 2 dodges every 5 seconds. I don't see how this stops them from still using it. It's nice. I get what they're trying to do. Will it stop people from, still using it? Meh. It's still going to be a dominant subclass in PvP. This isn't enough to change that. Based off of what I've seen, and I'm pretty sure other PvP heads who are not me, because I'm not a PvP head, I don't claim to be. I just know enough to where I don't think this will be enough to change the meta. But I do. We'll get to the Nova Warp changes, but I do think this will see competition in terms of Warlock based off of the other subclass changes. So we'll get to that. Heat rises, increased duration from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. Increased time extension awards after kills with heat rises is active. The extension duration differs based on different type of enemy killed. Your location now appears on enemy radar while using heat rises. I don't think this is enough, but it's a start. Middle Tree Dawnblade. Well of Radiance is basically getting the Ward of Dawn treatment. The more resilience you have, the more your sword health has. Damage taken scaled down based off of your resilience, blah blah blah. We'll see if this matters in PvE. Here's the thing, okay, so with this change, you won't be able to push your Will of Radiance under a boss that likes to turn you into Toe Jam. but there aren't too many enemies that matters with. Like, we like to put Atheon, Well of Radiance near Atheon's feet, but not on Atheon's feet. So I don't think this will matter that much in the long run, because not many. Here's the thing: when it comes down to that, most enemies don't target your Well of Radiance. Most enemies don't target your Ward of Dawn. They target them because you're in them. So unless you're under a boss that likes to step on you, I don't think this will matter that much in PvE, but we'll see. They would have to do something about the enemy AI first. Increased damage resilience buff versus enemy players from 20% to 40%. So basically they're trying to make it more viable in PvP. I can see maybe someone coming up with like a Lumina build, a Lumina and Boots of the Assembler build, and then, you know, playing support aggressively in PvP. Is that a thing? Playing support aggressively? But we'll see, you know. But players inside Well of Radiance are now immune to stasis freezes and slow. Well Sword can now be frozen and shattered by stasis. Maybe players will start getting smart and know that you can shoot the sword. It's been a thing since, you know, Well of Radiance has come out, but no one's ever actually shot the sword. I don't think before this many people actually knew that you could actually destroy the sword. But hey, now you know. Guiding Flame, increased duration from 7 seconds to 10 seconds. I don't know why we needed this, but it's nice. Increased damage buff from 20% to 25%. I don't know why we needed this, but it's nice. We'll see. You didn't. Well, now you know. You can shoot the sword whenever a Well of Radiance is there. I don't disagree with the Guiding Flame buff, and for those of you who don't know what Guiding Flame is, I believe it's the Warlock melee ability. So say whenever you melee an enemy and your teammates are near you and you have a charged melee ability, you give them Empowered, which gives them, you know, now is going to give them a 25% buff to damage. I don't know who asked for this. This is basically on par with Lucent Blade and Powerful Friends. I'm almost 100% sure it won't stack with them, but I don't know why we needed this. It's just one of those things where, like, okay, I'll take it. It's more damage. For Bottom Tree Dawnblade, we have the Phoenix Dive, reduced delay before dive starts. Cool. So basically, they're getting their own version of Shatter Dive. Bottom Tree Warlocks. Cool. Can now input direction and dive in any direction. Once again, basically Shatter Dive. Cool. Igniting Touch. Ability rework. Solar ability kills on burning targets now cause target to explode. Burn other enemies who will also explode if they die while burning. I can see this. I can see this. This will definitely be something that's great for Warmind cells, especially if you're using Wrath of Rasputin. You know, you can combine that with also Wrath of Rasputin to make Warmind cells, and you can also get the more explosions from Sunshot, so get your melee hits in. I don't see this being too much meta for GMs, but it's nice to have. It's something you could probably use in strikes a lot more often. But we'll see. This isn't really necessarily enough to give me a reason to use bottom. I haven't used Bottom Tree since like it came out. So we'll see. I don't see this giving me enough reason to actually use it. Maybe you can combine it with Necrotic Grips and be that guy. Get the Ooh, that's an idea. Combine it with necrotic grips, so if you melee an enemies and it'll get the poison and the burn. Rubs beard. Maybe. But here's the thing, they have a TWAB coming out with some changes to mods. I think, since they said a couple seasons back, I think it's a couple seasons back or a season back in a previous TWAB, that they were going to nerf Warmind cells. They didn't say what they were going to do, but they are going to nerf Warmind cells, and I almost guarantee that's going to be within the coming TWABs before the next season, so we'll see. Military Stormcaller, TLDR, Chaos Reach, increased beam environment collision size to better match collision size with damage size. I don't really know what that means. I guess it'll be more visually accurate to what it does. Reduce beam damage radius in PvP by 20%. Nice. Less chance of getting killed around corners, but probably won't stop that from happening. Reduce beam endpoint sphere radius in PvP by 33%. What was I saying? Reduce beam endpoint sphere radius in PvP by 33%. I guess this means wherever your beam is connected to, it creates a small sphere, and with that, they're reducing the size of said sphere. Bottom tree Stormcaller. Arc Soul increase. So this is Arc Buddy. Increase duration from 12 seconds to 13 seconds. I'm guessing they're trying to incentivize you to use it more, and I respect it. The overall subclass is bad, but if you use the Warlock Gauntlets, the Getaway Artists, it's actually pretty fun in PvP. So this is going to make Getaway Artists maybe a problem in PvP. We will see. Yeah, we'll just have to see. Increase rate of fire by 10%. Yeah, I can see it becoming a real big problem if people realize that Getaway Artist is a thing. It was a thing a couple of seasons ago. I don't know why people stop using Getaway Artists. I think it's because of Middle Tree, becoming very popular for shutting down supers. The super itself for Bottom Tree was not that great, but Getaway Artists just, you weren't really using it for the super, you were using it for Arc Buddy. Now Electrostatic Surge, now increase sprint speed while allies are near. That's neat. Landfall now fires 5 arc ground projectiles on cast. So basically you're creating an entire wave of lightning in every direction whenever you landfall. Hopefully that means that they increase the radius, making it a little bit nicer to use. So we'll just have to wait and see. Middle Tree Voidwalker, this is the meatiest change out of all of them that has happened. It is insane. Now, granted, did the subclass need it? Yes. But I can see Nova Warp is not the worst thing in PvP right now if you know what you're doing. So people who know how to use Nova Warp, this is what I was talking about earlier when it comes down to Top Tree Dawnblade having competition now. Nova Warp is actually not that bad if you know how to use it. So with these changes, you're going to be able to abuse Nova Warp now, and that's going to be interesting. I cannot wait for people to get tired of Nova Warp starting next season on the first day. Let's get into what they're doing. Increase damage to PvE combatants by 73%. Yes, please, we needed that. Actually, we needed that this season. It would have been really nice to combine it with the Void mod for creating Warmind cells. It's unfortunate that we probably won't have it next season, but better late than never. no longer slows movement speed while charging or charged. I can see people getting very frustrated with Nova Warp starting next season, because that's going to make it really hard to get away from. Now detonates on cast, so you can now panic this super, is what they're telling me. I don't necessarily agree with all these changes, because this is basically going to be your Fist of Havoc outside of landfall. So now what? Warlocks have 2 panic supers now, because you can have landfall and now you have Nova Warp. And they both don't do damage to you. I don't want to say I told you so, but starting next season, people are going to get very frustrated. I'm not a PvP main, but I feel like I know enough about the game to, you know, be able to call some stuff out. And I've called some stuff out before, but obviously I don't have enough of a following to where, you know, everyone could say I was right. But this, all right. My hands are up, Bungie. We increase hold time from 2.5 per seconds to 3.2, so you can hold it your handheld supernova, and it's also getting PV combatant damage by 100%. So the risk reward is getting higher up. I can see this stacking really well with the Controverse hold. So we'll see. I can see Nova Warp jumping straight into the top of the meta, or at least, you know, top 3 supers. That's going to be interesting. And I think that's really all that they really have to say about subclass changes. We shall see. Let's see. Improving the stasis experience. I believe they're just going over how they're going to make it easier to access stasis abilities for new and returning players. So pretty sure you saw other people's videos on that, so we're not going to go too far into that. And doesn't really look like there's much left to it. Yeah, that's pretty much been my reading. TLDR, I like all of these changes. We'll have to wait and see for some of them. The shotgun change, I feel like there's going to be ways around that, or at least the ability to combat that will probably exist. Oh, well, I guess we're just gonna be here. Yeah, I don't see this becoming. I know a lot of people are probably complaining on social media, which is why I don't spend too much time on social media. But yeah, I can see it being an issue, but at the same time, I don't have too much of a problem with a lot of these changes outside of, you know, Nova Warp just jumping straight into the top of the meta. That's going to be interesting to deal with and not be fun to play against. So we'll see. As well as, you know, the changes to Arc subclass, Titan. We'll see about the changes to Middle Tree that they say they're going to reveal. I can't wait to get my hands on, you know, what they're going to be talking about in terms of mods. Maybe sad boy hours, considering, you know, that they did say that they're going to be nerfing Warmind cells. We'll see what they're going to be changing with the wells of light, because that's pretty underwhelming right now, as well as I'd say it's pretty underwhelming to deal with. Charger light is not bad, but it could use some changes, some tweaks. It's a little bit hard to stay away from, say, like just a basic. Now it's probably due to people, you know, lack of experimenting on builds, but it's kind of hard to come up with any build that doesn't consider, you know, defense in terms of GMs or going for more damage via high energy fire. So we'll see if they rework the Charge of Light, as well as we already know that they're going to be touching up on Warmind cells. Well, that's pretty much it. I'm going to be basically signing off. Stream, YouTube. That's been my thoughts. And yeah.